Our Squawking Dead, a podcast, pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And this episode is no exception, obviously, because it's the penultimate episode of The Walking Dead World Beyond's first season. Its inaugural season, which is almost over, hence the term penultimate. We're getting ready for, obviously, the following 2-hour special coming up this Sunday, where we will have back-to-back episodes 9 and 10, technically, which have two different titles, which I don't have in front of me right now. But we are really looking forward to it. As you can tell from this episode, a lot of things are happening all at once in the most wonderful way, because the turn is coming. The CRM subplot is bleeding into the previously aforementioned slow-moving subplot, which, most people had issues with. And we do discuss that in this episode. A little bit of housekeeping that I just received, some little intel that I received from following Kirsten Acuna of Insider and Brandon Davis of comicbook.com. Apparently they've been talking to Scott Gimple. They just reported on it just now as I'm about to come on, and they will be talking about, well, the two hints that they dropped were PPP and Rishon. So some really interesting news may be dropping, either on the movies or the future of TWD Universe. So, are you excited? I was previously not excited because I was sick and tired of talking about Heath, just like I'm sick and tired of talking about Madison. And then all of a sudden, some further bits of housekeeping. Talks of Madison Clark returning are hot right now as of the as of Sunday when they aired the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm getting ready for all the "is this person Madison" jokes. Anyway, I see you guys in the chat. I'm not going to delay this episode any further. It is actually surprisingly shorter than most of our episodes lately, on the lower end of the spectrum, a little bit, about like an hour and a half. So sit back, enjoy the crazy that is about to happen in your face, and I'll see you in the chat. And hey, if you have it in you and you are liking what you're seeing or what you're hearing, if you do listen to the audio podcast along with these live streams and premieres, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead and give us a rating. Use that as a means to communicate with us in a more perma form. Give us 5 stars and an eggplant, leave it there, or tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we're doing wrong, and let's start the conversation. Also, if you really like what we're doing, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Look at that little coffee cup. Look how it little jiggles right now. It does a little jiggle right now. That's new. Now, just follow us there, and this way you'll be in the know to some supporter-backed posts that will be coming up, most of which entail our episode recordings. So you can be with us in the episode recordings, and you can also receive, if you can't be there, the unedited episode recordings in full, early, so you don't have to wait for these premieres, and you'll get some little bits of humor, of misfires, of technical difficulties, but also tons of things that we leave out that kind of go off on tangents, that are just personal, of us just laughing at ourselves and maybe doing some inappropriate things, as in this episode. So if you really want to get that, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, follow us, and if you'd like to, give us a coffee so you can have access to those supporter-backed content. A coffee a month, that's less than a cup of coffee. You can get 30 days of access, and if you subscribe to a coffee a month or more, we're not stopping you. The party just keeps on rolling. And if that doesn't tickle your fanny, you can head over to the coffee shop. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead/shop, and you can pick up these unedited episodes for free until the end of the week. We have a whole month plus full of unedited episodes for free for you to get, or pay what you want. You can give us a couple cents, or you can just get it for free, and you can get both parts of each episode right now. You don't even have to listen to my dumb face. Just get the unedited episode, enjoy it at your leisure, and go. But in any case, here's the episode. Love your faces, and I'll see you in the chat as the episode premieres. So, here we go. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today, we've got the penultimate episode of The Walking Dead World Beyond's eighth episode, titled
The Sky is a
Graveyard. I am a big Jeff Buckley fan, and he has a song called The Sky is a Landfill. I highly urge you guys to look it up. Jeff Buckley's a genius, and he passed shortly after his in the process of his second release. Very famous ending of him. Everybody kind of looks on it as a suicide because he also jumped in the Mississippi also, which is kind of an interesting tie-in to this episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was recording in like a cabin out in the middle of nowhere.
Jeez.
So he was recording these demos, which was ultimately used to make his second album finally. Mm-hmm. And basically the rest of his bandmates finished it up with him, and with some contributions from, I think, from other famous artists. I think like Chris Cornell at the time and stuff like that. But he was a very influential artist from New York City. Well, not originally, but I think. And his father, Tim Buckley, was kind of like a well-known folk artist too. So he had that notoriety behind him. I just thought it was relevant.
Definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, so we have to talk about the next episode, the 9th episode of the season. It's going to be a 2-hour season finale. Mm-hmm. And we're like debating back and forth pre-show and in our chats about like, what is this going to be 9 and 10? They announced 10 episodes, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. I don't think they know. And so part of what I said when Rachel told me about this was like, and I knew about it because like, obviously I watched the show and I watched a sneak peek and they mentioned, 2-hour season finale. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because when this episode airs, it's also going to be airing Fear the Walking Dead season finale, apparently. I mean, you'd said before that it was going to be, they were going to release 2 more episodes, but it didn't seem like it. Of Fear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I just had read an article that stated the first half would have 9 episodes, but who knows? Like you said, who the hell knows?
Shariny's basically saying Fear finale tomorrow and The Walking Dead World Beyond doubleheader next Sunday. And that's what I was saying to you in the chat, was that it makes sense for them to do a Fear and The Walking Dead World Beyond this weekend, and then also the next weekend, since we're on the theme of doubles. Okay, when The Walking Dead universe came back, the first thing that they started with was episode 16 of season 10, and then also The Walking Dead World Beyond first episode, right? Because we knew we would have more episodes of The Walking Dead World Beyond, and so of course they would start with that one first. And then moving into the next week, we had Fear the Walking Dead's first episode, season 6, plus the second episode of The Walking Dead World Beyond, and so on and so forth until, you get to the 7th episode of Fear the Walking Dead, which is coming this weekend. Our next episode is going to be covering that. So that's the end of Fear, and The Walking Dead World Beyond had probably 2 remaining episodes that just said, let's just throw another double at them. So we'll just make this single a double, that sort of thing. You get a double patty next week of The Walking Dead World Beyond, just to kind of keep into the theme of the doubles. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Although it's kind of like, why not just extend it? Unless they're just like, I really don't know. I really don't know why they would do that. Unless they're just trying to make us crazy. Because now we're just gonna have to combine that 2-hour special into one big episode coverage. I mean, I'm happy to do maybe a part 1, part 2, but honestly, I don't know. Well, I guess we're gonna have to record and find out where we end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See where we end up.
I know it. I mean, we spend, almost 3 hours on a 40-minute episode.
Yeah.
Well, IMDb is not the most reliable. We know this, but episodes 9 and 10 have separate titles. So.
Oh, really?
That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. And after this episode, I really don't know. I don't know which way is up anymore, dude.
Yeah. I am completely. When we had our premiere for Fear the Walking Dead's 6th episode, we were slightly talking about it, and we're like, I don't know what to make of this episode. I feel like it's. I don't know how to feel about this episode. There's a bunch of things that I feel about Silas's turmoil in his past and his present, and a little bit of Elton. But then, like, by the time we get to the end, it's like, oh my God, I'm all over the place. I just don't know what to feel by the end of it.
Yep.
I really do not know which way is up.
I don't either.
I don't.
You know what though? I'm not worried about it. Like I feel like Carol right now, right? Like I have no idea what the hell's going on, and I love it. I'm so here for it.
I don't
in
love
the most wonderful way.
I don't love it at all. I'm going to tell you right now, out front, I don't love it. I don't love it. The reason why is it's way different than Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead, I'm like, oh, the possibilities are endless. Here, I'm like, okay, our biggest complaint about The Walking Dead World Beyond was that, maybe things were moving too slowly, and that we were focusing on one or two characters maybe per episode, probably mostly one, because we would dive into their past and how it would be relevant in the present. It's very much unlike, The Walking Dead universe as a whole. Like, we never really go past the night the sky fell, before the night the sky fell. And we didn't do that too much here anyway. It seems like all the flashbacks from Silas were all post the night the sky fell. When the world turned to shit, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. His dad goes on and says, this is what it was like before everything went to hell, even when he was like 6 years old or whatever, however old he was. But regardless of that, they're not afraid of going further back to kind of bring us to the present. And so this episode, though, is very, very different from all the other episodes in that, like, now we're shifting our focus from many different arcs instead of just one. Occasionally they throw in a CRM thing, at the end or something like that, which is easier to follow, right? But now it's just kind of like, okay, they're starting to bleed onto one another, especially when you get to the end, you realize how much of that end bled into the last two episodes, let's say, and maybe the entire series, because now you're questioning everything in that amount of time that Huck was saying she was scouting 2 days, 48 hours in, see what's ahead, which we all kind of thought was a little fishy, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
We said it at the time. We're like, why would she do this alone? But then we told ourselves there's really no better option, is there? Right.
It's just, okay, well, and also we're not in the apocalypse. We're not teenagers. We're not adults. We're not in the apocalypse. We don't know what people do. We'll be ignorant of that fact. Okay. Moving forward. But yeah, as we find out, it's the cabin that Huck stays in when she wakes up in the last episode, which was called Truth or Dare. That's the same cabin she meets up with Lieutenant Colonel Kublik. Okay. We've got that under the way.
Thank you. I hadn't made that connection, but that makes a lot of sense.
She's doing is just walking to the next room where there's a desk and there's a calculator and an office phone for some reason. I'll write it off. Whatever. At the start of that scene, Kublik is holding the watch that Huck eventually starts wearing back in Truth or Dare. And then Felix is like, oh, like the bling. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, really weird, random. We didn't see her pick it up from anybody, least of all that Marine, the Marine empty that's walking across that bridge. Okay. So we wrote that off.
But they threw that scene in there so that we would think she did get it off of a dead person, right? I mean, maybe not the Marine, like you said, but could have been a different body.
Right, exactly. Well, this is what we assumed, right? And we're just like, okay, I guess fine. Who cares? I don't know where she got it from. Who am I, right? But we find out eventually that it's her. Wait, now I don't want to jump straight to the idea that she's her mom, but she does say, it is her dad's watch. This is Kublik says, dad's watch? And she says, yes. Okay, that's fine.
I think we need to go into does that line not convince you that Elizabeth is her mother?
It doesn't convince me, but everything here
that sealed it for me.
Everything here is worded so weirdly, though. Don't you agree?
Okay. I think Nisa and I are both convinced for the same two reasons. Okay. When Huck walks into this room, the expression on Elizabeth's face is relief. She is a mother relieved to see her child is still alive and, unhurt and still in one piece. Then when she hands her the watch, Huck says, is this dad's? Not my dad's.
Right.
Is this dad's?
Right.
Your mother is the only person you would say that to. If you were talking to anybody else, you would say, is this my dad's?
And you just picked up my lure. Because that
was sealing the deal for me.
I had to be the one who said, but it's worded very weirdly. I mean, is it not her? Because I have to play that part also, that person that's just on the fence that has to think otherwise. But yeah. I mean, the way it is worded is pretty definitive. Sure. Shirley's
saying you would also say that to a close family friend. Is this dad's? I mean, I guess just my opinion, I would have to disagree. But that's just, I don't know, maybe the way I talk. Maybe somebody else would be different.
What Sharondy's bringing up is a good point, and which is kind of like why if I start jumping to these conclusions, this is why we're trained to have this post-traumatic stress about the show, where it leads us down like like I say all the time, a garden path, and then all of a sudden pulls the wool over our eyes. So it's hard for me to kind of go down that path where it's like I'm being dragged by my mother to the clothing store where it's just about her and what am I supposed to do while I'm in there with her, and then I end up going into one of those those circular clothing racks where you go into the middle, in the eye of the storm, and you just sit there. Yeah, exactly. And then a store employee has to find you. It's like, where's my son? Where's my son? Yeah, here he is. I found him.
Watching your mom run around,
and and he's pulled all the price tags off of the pants. So that's what I did. No, I didn't take them off the pants. They had this weird perforation that I would just take off. I would just take off that end piece. End piece happened to have the price.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the end piece happened to have the price on it. So exactly. Okay, so yeah, Nisa's saying there's only one dad. My mom and my brother are the only ones I'd say dads. Everyone else I'd say my dads. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down for that, but it's also the last names, Jennifer Malik versus Kublek, so there's like things fighting the way I feel about this.
Well, I could even see maybe Kublek isn't her biological mother, but raised her. She looks at her as a mother figure.
Oh God, what if it's like the 100 where it's like the main guy of the cult is like the father and everybody follows his word and everything like that. And then
oh God.
And Kublek and whatever.
Terrible.
But Kublek answers to orders too. We established that. Like, so she's not at the top of the food chain, you know what I mean? Lieutenant Colonel is far from like a major general, whatever it's called. I have to look that up eventually. Yeah, and Charity's sort of agreeing with me, saying, I mean, I think she is, but I agree with Dave too. They want you to think that. So, and Nisa goes, she's a spy, goddammit. She can't use her mom's name, she used her dad's name. Oh, well, yeah, they could have split up and she took her dad's name, right? That's a good point. Mm-hmm. And I can't even imagine what the dad's accent sounds like, by the way. Like, if you think about it. Like, if Kublek is English and she's all like, I don't know what Huck is or Jennifer Malik is.
Yeah. I don't know. But another thing that popped into my head when we see this scene, and I'm convinced that this is Elizabeth's daughter, and then we find out she is a spy, I immediately went back to that first episode, right? Like what I was kind of commenting on.
Who's the soldier?
The acting. Well, like the acting and like the overacting, and I'm like, I did see that. Like, I wasn't imagining it. I think I was seeing that. And like, Huck really is becoming a different person. Maybe she was putting on more, because of that role. She really, she is becoming someone else. Elizabeth said it.
I like what Nisa says, the way Elizabeth was looking at the watch, touching it, it's from someone she loves.
Yeah.
I guess, you guys have sold me. I think I'll go down there. I think I'll walk down this path. There's no harm in it. Like, I'll go down it. But I think more importantly, like, okay, we're focusing a little bit too much on the relationship, but whatever. We're past that point. Mm-hmm. Kublek is saying this to the soldier, like, there's no easy way, top to bottom. This is the only way to bring whoever it is, whoever the asset is, in. Mm-hmm. And now we have to talk about
that was what I wrote down. Mm-hmm.
Now we have to talk about who the asset is, and I have no idea. Yeah. Like everything that we're seeing down to the sneak peeks is suggesting that it's Iris, but Nisa's saying Hope.
I'm thinking Hope. Mm-hmm.
Nisa's basically putting out Hope or Felix, as kind of like, oh, these would be the two least likely assets. So there has to be those assets.
I'm thinking it's right. I'm thinking it could be Hope at this point. I mean, Huck is spending a lot of her time with Hope, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point too. A lot of the interaction in this episode between Hope and Huck is very telling. A lot of what's going on is like this struggle between this volley between doing what's for the greater good. Huck is kind of like slowly feeding her CRM talking points, and she's using them. Mm-hmm. Hope is using them throughout this episode. And one of the interesting things about that is the volley between Iris and Elton, both telling her that, Iris obviously being the kind of like avatar of what is good, let's say courage, bravery, right? And Elton, of family, of not abandoning people, even if it means, it might take a little longer to get to your dad, that sort of thing. And then going back to Iris.
Hope says maybe he did it to protect you. And Iris is not settled by that and says, well, then he let me live in a lie.
Well, she says
first dagger to Hope.
She says, even further, she says, that would be even harder for me because
it would be worse. It would be
worse. Right. Because that means he'd be letting me live in a lie. So, but these come back. And then by the end of it, Elton Elton is basically about to go away. He's resolved to leave the group because of the events that happen. And, they've made their decision about Silas, leaving Silas behind. Or Silas is already going away and Elton's going after him. And Elton resolves himself to go after him. And by the end of it, of course, Elton is going, I can't let him live in a lie, in essence. So Iris and Elton do a lot of back and forth, double teaming Hope on the good out here, the idea of goodness. From the last episode, Huck has been kind of instilling in her, you got to keep these secrets so that, keep the monsters at bay. The others don't need to know what you did so that they can live. But the one grave, the one shovel, talk about like when they were digging the grave for Tony, the one shovel, the one big dig that Huck mistakenly tells Hope, which is the very reason why she tells Elton about her past, about what happened to his mom, is saying what's painful in the moment is what gets you where you need to go. Doing what's best for everybody, even when you know it's going to hurt. So, she's telling her to, sometimes you have to just, move forward. To move forward, you have to do bad things. But in essence, it's the very thing that gets Hope to actually tell Elton at the end, because she decides, based on what Iris is saying, I can't let Elton, if he's going to be leaving us, I can't let him live in this lie. If I may never see him again, I can't have him be out there in the world, because she doesn't even know what's going to happen to her moving forward. She could die at any moment. And then so she decides, I can't let him live in the life. I may not see him again. He can't be walking around the world living in this lie, not knowing which way is up. And so she tells him something that's painful for her in the moment, and so that he can get to where he needs to go. And hopefully with that, Elton can pass that on to Silas so that he knows where he needs to go by the end of it.
Yeah. For a minute there, we were kind of saying, what if Hope is Huck's child that was given up for adoption?
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards the idea now that she could be her sister.
Oh, that's interesting.
What if Hope is Elizabeth's daughter?
Oh, whoa, you just blew my mind. You just blew my mind hardcore. And it makes sense it makes sense in a multitude of ways. Okay, so what if Huck is Hope's sister? Right? And Elizabeth is their mother. And because we've seen Kubelik demonstrate the fact that, zero fucks given. Like turning on the burners and saying, we have all this electricity, it's all renewable. This is what I surmised, right? Like taking that authority of privilege, that privilege of authority, and like exercising it and say, this is what it's for. This is what this has all been for me to traipse around here like I own the place, but it's also for the greater good. And so we see her taking privileges in some respects. And I wonder if her decimating Campus Colony, I don't know. She's very upset. I know she's very upset about this. She gives them this order to go to New York to meet them at the facility, probably. And if Hope is the asset and Huck is her sister, oh man, this is just very complicated. Oh my gosh,
I could see it happening that way, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, then this would mean that they decimated Campus Colony with, making it not easy for them to join them. Huck giving Hope special treatment. Do you think, okay, so let's start with, do you think Huck knows that Hope is her sister?
Ooh.
That's another thing.
I almost answered with a knee jerk, but I don't.
Now I don't know, right?
I think I need to think about it. Now I think I need to know about it more. Well, man. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I can't say. If she really is her sister, it might be better for Elizabeth not to tell her.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
To just kind of keep her mission focused and not put emotion into it.
Right.
If she did know it was her sister, she might start making stupid mistakes.
Right.
Acting emotionally instead of rationally.
Right. She can explain to them all once she's integrated into the CR, let's say. Okay, meet your sister. This is what it was for.
Right. Once they're safe, they can reveal the big secret. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Nisa's sharing a pretty important quote too that Huck says, dads have a strange way of showing their love. She does refer to her dad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And her dad did mention in The Wrong End of a Telescope that you'd think that he would be proud of her joining the Marines. And yet not really, or not conclusive. We don't really know.
Right. I remember getting the impression that maybe he's not so proud.
Yeah, or I don't know. We don't really know. We don't know what the end result of that was. That's all she responded, though. Dads have a funny way of showing how much they love you, or a strange way of showing their love, right? So, okay, so there's that. So, yeah, could this have this whole ruination have been for Hope to join Kublai in the Republic? The only way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, it's hard because can you imagine, decimating a community all for the sake of Hope joining, which could have a double effect of okay, if she comes in, Leo can give us, Leo won't be so standoffish. Things went bad, who knows what happened. And one of the complications that come up, again, this is why I get so weirded out by how this episode played out. One of the sneak peeks is obviously of Leo Bennett making out with Lila. It looks like, at least, Lila Belshaw.
Yeah. Could be her. It was a very quick, he was definitely kissing somebody.
Yeah, it looked like Lila, though, didn't it?
Well, all I saw was the back of her head, and have we seen Lila with her hair down yet? I thought it was mostly up the two times we saw her. I don't remember now.
What if it was Huck? Right?
What if it was?
I thought for a microsecond, what if it was Huck? And it kind of technically is her mom. It goes back to the mom thing.
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
But then okay, then why just one asset, right? So
yeah.
Right? So I don't know. So perverted.
Well, we've said the whole time that Elizabeth is obviously following orders as well. So the destruction of Campus Colony might not have been her idea. She might have been ordered to do that, right, knowing full well her daughter and her friends live there, and so she slipped them the map to get her out before the slaughter.
Right, and so let's stick with that. I'm more comfortable with that than just figuring out some sort of plot to just drive them out of that camp. And Kublai said it best. They were going to be a threat. Yeah, it's very possible that the orders came up on high, and she did a thing where she could at least what's the harm in just letting these people survive?
Do you think if any CRM soldier were to find them, would they know that they came from Campus Colony and that they should be dead?
Only by the insignias. So one of the sneak peeks is Elton begging Silas to not turn himself into the CR. The thing is, one of the things we always said about the CR is that if you see them, or if they see you, you're already dead. So I'm very nervous about the next 2-hour, finale.
I am too.
Yeah, and especially if your colony was meant to be decimated, why would you spare the remainders? And on whose orders? And is it Kublai's people? And that's the other thing. So I want to get to Huck, Huck's strategy, the idea of let's talk about Percy and Tony. Are we all on the same page that Huck was the one to kill Tony? That was the other big thing that I wanted to talk about.
I definitely think Huck's a possibility. Yes. Yep. I mean, I'm not going to say 100% sure she did it, but I think she's a big contender for that. Yes.
Throughout this episode, I will convince you that is 100% Huck. And not only that, she killed Percy too, for sure.
See, I think Percy's still alive.
You do?
I will tell you why I think that.
Oh, okay. I would love to hear that, because all I kept hearing, to get Percy out of the way is the blood trail to the river. And I can easily see Huck running after, because one of the things we said, we didn't know if it was one person's footsteps or another's, or multiple. And I think I can easily see Percy trying to run away from Huck, who is 100% perfectly fit, a specimen of military training, full with constantly having to do PE to stay fit. I can see her easily catching up with him, to Percy, dragging his ass to the river. Why would it stop at the river? And drowning his ass and letting the current take him downstream. You know what I mean?
Absolutely could have happened that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Why would it stop at the river?
I don't think it did.
What's at the river? So tell me why you think Percy's still alive. Is that what you're contending?
I do. I think Percy's still alive. When we're inside and everybody's kind of discussing, did Silas do it? Didn't he do it? And Elton brings up, Percy's out there somewhere. If we could find him, he can tell us what happened. And then the camera focuses on Huck's face. Yes. And she looks panicked. Oh shit. If they do find him, I'm toast.
What you said about panic, I saw somebody who had to do something that she didn't really want to do. That was what I saw. Okay. I saw guilt.
Okay.
I saw
okay, all right.
Oh, the things that we have to do, the painful thing in the moment, You know, like it keeps repeating, especially at the end when she's talking to Kublai, it repeats again. You know, Huck needs to not only bring them in, but to watch and listen to anything that might come up. That's another thing that came up. So it's not just about getting the asset. It's about finding out whatever she can about what they know. Maybe about Leo's research, maybe about the communities, what they were onto, what the asset may represent, if not just being Kublai's daughter, might be something else. And also, like, the reason why I bring it up at all, not just because it's confusing as all hell. Why kill Tony? Why kill Percy? I'm assuming. I'm just going to go off that theory. And why indict Silas, right? Because as we start to see in the sneak peeks, her thing is about separating the asset from the others, or separating her. We confirm the asset is a her, so it's either Iris or Hope. So part of what she's going to have to do moving forward, the harder thing is to separate Felix, Elton, obviously, but that's been taken care of. But now it really just comes down to Felix and one of the sisters, whoever isn't the asset. And so killing Tony and Percy, and then indicting Silas takes a few of those people off the board. We get a few of those variables off the board. Even Huck is acknowledging me take Silas back to Omaha, which was never going to happen anyway, because one of Huck's suggestions to Felix as the plan B was taking the girls all the way to New York, which was her ideal, right? So how crazy is that? That plan all along was about taking them to New York. Okay, so let's go back. So Silas was never going to make it. They were always going to leave Silas behind. And one of the other things that Huck mentions, just after that initial conversation, she goes out to Silas's bag with Silas that's nearby, and she goes, "I'm sorry, kid." And in quotes and in parentheses, I have to do this because I have to throw myself off the scent, right?
Yeah. I'm not certain that Huck orchestrated it that way so that Silas would be a suspect, but once it happened, she had to continue that story.
Right. Well, here's another thing. Yeah. I don't think she intended it either, but I think also like framing Silas just to kind of throw her. I mean, I think she finds that she has to further indict Silas, I think. So she takes and here's the thing. What she says about the campfire, I saw this at the last camp, that he was looking at Iris's pictures. There's no way. There's no way. I think she went through all of their things.
Sure. Sure.
and saw this
Silas
evidence.
Doesn't pull that stuff out in front of people, does he? I don't.
No, that's exactly.
He doesn't usually look at that in front of other people.
I wrote that down. There's no way. There's absolutely no way he would ever do that.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but you're absolutely right. No, those are private and secret. So
yeah, Nisa's convinced that Percy escaped. What Nisa's contending is Felix can now go after the boys, Silas and Elton, and she can move on, forcing her plan B to go with the girls on to wherever at New York, let's say. Yeah, and Nisa's confirming what I was saying. Kid's twice my size. She couldn't handle him, so Felix has to go after them. She's basically angling it so Felix has to go and help the boys. But as we see in the sneak peeks, it doesn't quite turn out that way.
Huck knows damn well she can handle Silas. That's not the case, but she wants Felix to go with the boys. Yeah, for sure. There's just no way. There's just no way. Yeah, and we all know that the CR wants what the CR gets. They're not going to take any extra or minus. So, yeah, I don't know how this is going to shape out. Yeah, and that's what I said, too, in my notes. Divide and conquer. That's right. Okay, so you said the Walking Dead wiki is pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Okay, I went there today to get a little bit of information, and I've got more than I planned on.
Okay.
According to Walking Dead wiki, the apocalypse started in 2010 when Walking Dead did.
Okay.
Silas was born in 2003.
Okay.
His last name is Plaskett.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Voce.
Right.
I hadn't heard it. When did we hear it on the show?
We didn't. I don't think we did.
Oh, okay. Marco Voce is actually his mother's brother.
Okay.
So that's
makes sense.
The name difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I saw, so Kai Lennox is who plays Gary, Silas's father. And I thought I saw him on a Buick commercial, but for the life of me, I couldn't find it to confirm.
Okay.
I'm just watching TV and Eric was sitting at the computer and I go, is that Silas's dad? And he turns and looks and I go, is that Silas's dad in that car? He's like, I think it is.
He got his big break before he got his big break in the face.
Right? Oh my gosh. It was funny too. The guy, it looked just like him if it wasn't. They could be brothers.
I'm not 100% convinced that the night the sky fell / the apocalypse started at 2010 though. Just given, I don't know. Are you? because it doesn't make sense if Sabina James is in the yearbook and she's still in school. You know, that's the year. That's our right. This is the graduating class, right? Why would she be in school for 2 more years, right?
Right. Why would there be a 2008 yearbook still in there?
Nisa is saying 2009, but I think she's graduated, so why would she still be in school? Just doesn't make sense. I mean, your yearbook,
be a shelter?
Your yearbook comes out at least a month before you're graduating, before the time you graduate.
The high school might be like the shelter, though.
That's what
like
Nisa
when everything
says.
happened. Oh yeah, yes, like a bomb shelter. I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, technically, sure. Oh, and then they try to survive. Okay, that is a good way to look at it. You know, but but 2 years. So that would narrow it down to 2009, maybe, right? Because class would have already started. And
well, then I keep going back to what Nora said on Fear the Walking Dead too, about the Christmas party that they had
in 2008.
I thought, was it 2008, or had we figured out that it had to have been 2009 Christmas party?
It was 2008.
Christmas party.
She mentions the Christmas party was in 2008. So
okay, but that's December of 2008, and then 2009's right after that. So
it would be 2009. There's no way it wouldn't be.
Could be, yeah.
Right? It doesn't make sense to hold these characters behind, have the 2008 yearbook. So it has to be before the 2009 yearbook came out, which means, you know, sometime between December and let's say May or April. April sounds actually kind of right, because April was probably the night the sky fell. I think we've narrowed it down.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We could do timelines forever.
Timelines. Anyway.
Timelines.
Yeah. You mentioned something really cool about the title sequence.
Oh, just how cool it was. Like it totally flipped around and the words were like coming out from I just thought it was really cool. It was very visually pleasing.
Would you say that Silas's world was turned upside down?
Yes. And I thought, the way they did that was just perfect for the episode too. Nisa, it really described it well.
Oh, Nisa got the jinx because we said the same thing. Yeah. Right. But, you know, like we're putting Silas in a position where he really has to confront his past, something that he's been avoiding, you know? Oh, should we go into it? Should we do it?
I think now's the time.
Because you forced it upon us. I'm blaming you. This is why. Okay.
Well, it's a big chunk.
Let me just say this out front. So by the time I got done with this episode, just before our premiere on Friday of the last Fear the Walking Dead episode, I was like, I don't know what to think about. First of all, I don't know what to think about this episode. It goes all over the place, and it's akin to looking at what the coronavirus actually looks like, and that's how I feel about this episode. It goes this way, that way. The little crowns from the coronavirus goes this way and that way. And I'm not saying I don't like it. I actually do like it a lot. It is different than what the slow play of focusing on separate characters, what they're doing here, which is kind of similar to what they're doing in Fear the Walking Dead, where you're having these character-focused episodes, you know, with here and there with other characters and seeing what comes up. But then, I mean, the other part of it is when it comes down to breaking down this episode, because it goes here and there and everywhere, that means we have to kind of piece that stuff back together. And that's what I was kind of like, I'm like, oh man, we have to go through all this. It's just so much. I know, right? And missing certain things. And I'm not afraid of missing some things, but I just want to make this as cohesive an episode as possible. And so that's been the tough part. But you know what? Stream of consciousness is in our corner, and hopefully that'll win the day. Stream of consciousness also means we might miss a couple things because we flow into each subject. So this is going to be the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today, because again, it is still a character focused episode, even though at the end it kind of ruins everything for us, all of our perceptions. Okay, so similarly to the way Silas is tied up, as we find him, and the world is upside down, the first thing that we see in Silas's flashbacks is of him waking up from being blacked out post his dad's beat up. And he runs over to his dad. His dad goes, "Ew." And he really starts remembering what happened in the struggle just before this fight. As he remembers it, they drop some knowledge on us from the way his dad is yelling at him. And he says, "Wipe that stupid look off your face and answer me. Do you want to live in this shit? Answer me. Are you a pig?" So it does show images of a messed up house, of dirty dishes everywhere. So I don't think he's like fat shaming him. I don't think it's per se. I thought that at first, when first watch, and then like I saw the dirty dishes and like living in squalor.
And then he says something that I only saw in the captions, didn't really pay much attention to on first watch, which was disrespecting the house that your grandparents left for us. This is Pappy and Grammy. Was that her name? I can't remember her name.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Pappy and
Granny. Yeah.
And this seems like this is his dad's parents, right? Because it would be, wouldn't it? Like if you were that fired up about it.
I think so. Yeah. Seems like he's defending his parents.
You know, and so you're going to make a mess, throws dish at him. I'll teach you. Throws him against the wall and starts choking him. I'll teach you to disrespect this house. So this is very interesting because he's fighting very, very hard to defend his defenseless grandparents in a way. Like meaning they're gone. I'm the only one left. I have to take care of this place, which you are messing up in his perspective, let's say. And it follows up, like later on, we see flashbacks of Silas at a dinner table, his dad pouring booze. I feel like I know I'm jumping ahead, but I want to connect. I want to connect it to this idea that, because we're talking about the dad, you know, what could have made Silas, first of all, do what he did? What caused his dad to go down a different path? Because later on, we see that flashback of him at the dinner table, Silas putting on his headphones at the dinner table, not listening to either of them. His dad talking about taking him to the bazaar to pick out a present for his mom, and he's not listening. And then as we go through this episode, we find out, okay, one of his happiest memories is of he and his dad listening to rock music. And talk about the thing that solidifies the rest of your life is we always see Silas with his headphones on, full blast, not wanting to hear anybody or anything else, wanting to live in his bubble. Now, who else in this party is constantly reading something to reinforce this bubble he has of his mom?
Elton.
Yeah. Now, these two characters are both living in this weird bubble where they're keeping their fondest memories of their parents. And the music isn't just the music. It really isn't at all about the music. The music is about their happiest memories of their parents. Because as Elton is even talking about his mom, he's talking about, you know, even if her voice was sucky, it was still her voice. You know, even if she was, you know, she was making pancakes or something. Was it pancakes in the morning? Or was it waffles? So, yeah. Waffles? Pancakes? Does it really matter? And then somebody will hit me in the face. Of course it matters. Pancakes versus waffles? Obviously it's pancakes. It is pancakes.
I think it was pancakes.
Nisa says you don't get worked up about in-laws unless they're in your face and you're like, oh God, get out of my face. So yeah, so I like the crossover between what people perceive as their idealized versions of their parents, you know, them being gone, and we have to kind of live in the best parts of the past. But obviously, as we find out, and we may find out a little bit more about Elton later on, we'll discuss that. But eventually that bubble has to get popped at some point, because especially for Silas, because the small minuscule part of his past that he idealizes and adores, you know, comes tumbling down around him. Even though after his dad, he has to put down Walker Dad, he still does what he does to kind of keep this moment in time he has with him, because he doesn't have anybody or anything else left. Yeah, and that was his first violent incident, by the way, when he's pouring the booze, talking about the bazaar. The very last part of that flashback, his dad is outraged, picks Silas up by his hair or his neck, and you know,
he grabs the headphones off his head. Right.
And that's, I don't know if that's the first violent incident between he and his dad, but later on we do find out that the violent incidents were not limited to when he was a teenager. That was him as a teenager, but when he was a kid, he would beat on his mom. This is like the second to last, or one of the last few flashbacks as a kid at 6 years old. He's stepping on the picture frame of him as a child. And he's remembering two simultaneous events. He's remembering his dad bandaging his knee, and then that idealized version of the past where his dad is simulating a rock concert, feeling the music in your body, you know, that what it must have been like to be at a rock concert. And then also, like, just before that, though, we do see a small snippet of, you know, when you see the blood on the bathroom door, what his dad obviously reached for. He reached for a lot of pills to it looked like he took a little too many pills, which is probably why he's dead. But he flashes back once he opens the bathroom door and sees his mom all beat up from the feet up from his dad.
Yeah.
So it moved on from beating his wife to beating him. And once he starts seeing the disrespect to his parents' household. So then one of the most repeated motifs, by the way, on the show, that is the knocking, right? There's a lot of knocking in this episode when it goes from flashback to flashback, sort of in the middle and the beginning. And you meet the neighbor with paper thin walls, referring to his dad as a human refuse, you know? So this has happened repeatedly over time, over 10 years, let's say, between his mom and him. And then eventually it got to him.
Well, when the neighbor comes over and speaks up, my first thought, it reminded me of Porch Dick Pete. Porch Dick Pete was was beating Jesse and the boys, and everybody kind of knew it, and nobody
Said
did anything about
it.
it. Yeah, so we know that was happening in a gated community post-apocalypse too.
But this woman did try to do something about it. She didn't force it upon him. Obviously, forced the choice upon him, but she did try.
Yeah, I love the focus in on her hand too, when she puts her hand out and says, come with me right now, and the camera really focuses on that. And I just thought, oh, take her hand, go, go, go.
Would you agree with me that I think the reason why he didn't take her hand is because I think, given the fact that he woke up from being blacked out from a blackout rage and did what he did, do you think that maybe he felt like he deserved it? Like that he's just as bad as his dad in a sense?
I think
or maybe worse, because he didn't walk away with those kinds of bruises.
Yeah. I think when you live in a situation like that and you live with a father like that, it becomes normal. I think Silas was just so accustomed to this behavior that he was more afraid of his dad. Even in the state that he was still so afraid of him. He snaps at the neighbor when he says, don't call the cops. My dad doesn't like cops. I think he's still so terrified of his dad in that moment that he doesn't believe that help is possible.
The normalization of violence and shitty behavior, and which causes people to think there's just no way out. So Sharon D's saying, I love that Silas hit him with a family picture. It made me think of Charlie and the family pictures in Close Your Eyes. This is season 4. Was it episode? I think it was 10. What's interesting is that we do find out that by the end of it, when he puts down his dad, his Walker dad, let's say, one of the things that happens just afterwards is his mom says, stay back. And one of the factoids that Nisa mentions is, even, his mom even testified against Silas, and yet still whatever that court body ruled that whatever it was in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that we mentioned Felix, because one of the interesting things about that is that, you're talking about a character whose parents completely rejected him, Felix, period. Mm-hmm. And so what I was struggling with in that moment where Felix comes up to him with the water is if you only knew, mm-hmm. He was on, I think, to mention that even his own parents testified against him. And maybe that's why he comes over. Maybe that's why he's giving him the water. But to know exactly what happened, nobody really knows. Nobody still knows. It's kind of like Huck's past. You didn't know the shit that I had to do in order to keep my mom safe, let's say, or myself safe.
That scene between when Silas's mom, right after he takes out Walker Dad, and his mom's terrified of her own son. I am still so angry, and I was so mad at his mom in that moment. This is your baby, and he needs you. If this were my son, if I were in this situation, I wouldn't even think about it. The first thing I would do is wrap my arms around him. Are you okay? Are you okay? But she's more scared of him. That is a piss poor, sad excuse for a mother.
Right. Well, and Nisa rightly points out that she still might have had Stockholm syndrome even after the guy was dead. I'm not going to say out.
I agree. I agree, and that's what I told myself. But
after years of abuse, that'll do it for you. Sure.
Still doesn't make it right.
Well,
it's an excuse. But doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make any of it right. I mean, even Silas not reaching out for help. It's also indicative of what they've had to live through, apparently. But this is kind of the thing I wanted to stress though from the beginning was that the night the sky fell, let's say, for them, for everybody, and trying to keep the families together. It's you see that outside the windows of the comfort of your own homes and cities, the world has gone to shit. And part of the reason why people don't think settlements can survive is also because trying to live on and not acknowledging that. I think it's kind of like Alexandria. I'm glad you brought it up. And not acknowledging that the world has crumbled around them has only made things worse for them. They're not acknowledging the family turmoil. They're not acknowledging the outside stress that has no choice but to seep into the walls and windows. You see the scenes of him when he's 6 years old, even though at 6 years old, he was already beating on his mom. This was post the fall, and already drinking. All of that must have just gotten worse and worse and worse, and how things crumble and crumble and crumble around them. But in a weird way, things crumble in order, things fall apart in order for other things to grow. That's the other thing that I noticed as well. It's as badly as things have to crumble around them. This is an order. It wasn't so that everything could. It's not like an apocalyptic tale. It's not what the world beyond is supposed to represent. Things have to fall apart so that beauty can spring up in its place. This is kind of like what we see all around them. We have to break things down in order to rise up again. It's kind of like the past is dead. What does that actually mean? Well, that means once I kill the past, I can become something bigger and bigger. Was it strike me down and I'll be more powerful than you can ever imagine? Star Wars.
Silas is remembering the way his mom looked at him as this walker is crawling towards
closer.
him.
Yeah.
Right. And at first, I saw Silas trying to figure out how to get away, right? He's scared. He doesn't want to be eaten by a walker. And the more he thinks about the way his mother looks at him, the more I see him coming around and I don't know, almost seeing himself the way his mom did. If my own mother thought I was a monster, maybe I am.
Yeah, which echoes.
And that was when he kind of just sort of let go and was like, all right, if this walker's going to eat me, it's going to eat me. And he just stared at the stars and waited.
That statement gets echoed also when he's talking to Iris later on in the episode. He's like, I know what I am. I don't want you to see me like this, but I know what I am. It's not that I killed my dad, I killed Tony, I killed Percy. I'm a killer, essentially is what he says. I can't run away from what I am. And it's true. I mean, look, I don't know about Tony and Percy. I'm 100%, 1,000% convinced that was Huck. But, one of the things that I do want to bring up, just as a side note, I didn't include it in the episode, I don't think, but the last episode of Fear the Walking Dead, 606, I mentioned midazolam and what its effects are. And every time I keep coming back to this point about Silas not remembering certain things, I remember that midazolam is an anesthetic, and one of its side effects is the inability to make short-term memories for as long as it's in your system. And it kept buzzing in my ear as this was happening. And I was wondering, okay, maybe Huck sees that he's off the wagon or whatever. Look, Silas is the son of an alcoholic. It's very possible that he has the same disease as his dad. Knowing that, Huck can also probably put midazolam in his system, and this just makes sure that he does not remember what happens when he gets drunk, and so I wonder if that's part of the strategy as well. Mm. Oh, that's interesting too. Good thing to include. Sharon is saying, which is why Virginia didn't want June to administer it to Wes, because she wants him to remember those memories. Interesting. So maybe I should have brought it up. Maybe I should have kept it in. I just thought it was a dumb factoid. And then eventually, of course, now it all makes sense. So Huck might actually have midazolam or it could be something else. And then it makes Silas not remember anything. So, whew. Okay, so one of the things in his flashback that I thought was interesting, which was a happy memory, was the orange with the CRM logo. This is way back when, right? When he was a kid, right? If I remember right?
Yep.
This threw me for a little bit of a loop, right? Because that early on for the CRM to have been established, or the whatever the Pact of the Three.
I think that speaks to your theory. Didn't you say various factions of different militaries banded together to form the CRM? I mean, CRM could have been around the night the sky fell. They could have started right then.
Well, more the civil defense. I don't know about any of other military factions, but the civil defense, maybe the statewide civil defenses got together and formed a big thing called the Civic Republic. Oh, Sharon has a obligatory Better Call Saul reference. In Breaking Bad universe, oranges are very bad news, harbinger of death.
Okay, there you go. And Dad died.
And that ended that.
Don't eat oranges.
Yeah, so
wait, Father Gabriel calls Rosita his half an orange.
Yeah, so half death. It's
she's half dead.
It's half a warning. All I meant to do to bring that up was how quickly they established themselves. And the reason why that logo is on there is to illustrate the fact that they have already established some sort of production and manufacturing, because there's no way that isn't a CRM or CR orange. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, right.
And it could have been Portland. That's the thing. I don't know what to make of that, because it could be that their manufacturing is all like a group project, because the Civic Republic is its own entity, but it also represents the Alliance of the Three. That's what it's called, which is Omaha, Campus Colony, and Portland. And then CR just kind of walks into it. So it's technically their logo, the Alliance of the Three, but the CR takes that logo for themselves or something like that. It's never really 100% clear. Mm-hmm. So I'm just confused by that reference. So yeah, it throws me again, this is another reason why this episode kind of goes this way and that, because I just don't know why it's coming up this early. It makes me crazy. Mm-hmm. There's never any clarity to all this.
I don't know which way is up.
Part of his favorite memory is looking up into the stars. The glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling, which is why he keeps looking up. It's his happiest. So it's a visual representation of his happiest memory. When he can't have his headphones, that's what he sees, and it reminds him of that. So I like what's going on here. So all this time we assume, okay, it's a happy memory of his grandparents, and which is true, probably. Like, part of it is a connection to his dad, his grandparents, Grammy and Pappy. Oh, and yeah, and Nisa said, Sharon says she saw a meteor in the sky, Elton's dad's picture. Right. Yeah. That's a good connection too. Him explaining how, it's really a fiery ball of thing, and it just, as it goes into the earth, it burns up. And then, yeah, exactly. Nice connection, Sharon D. Part of that happy memory also is going back to the semi-present, where just before his Walker dad is banging on the door, he's turning up the music, and then he puts the headphones on, and then he blasts that up all the way up, and then the Walker dad walks away. As he reaches his dad, and his dad is turned in Silas's room, they're playing Lucian Black's Battleground.
Doesn't that song come on he puts the cassette in once he gets to his room? Is it playing while he's pushing his dad away?
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He that's what he clicks on in the room, because he plays another song in the past as his favorite memory.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's two different songs all in the same scene.
Yeah, all in the same kind of room, let's say, but different times. But this is the one in the semi-present, just after he discovers his dad turns, pushes him away, goes to his room, closes the door behind it, locks the door, blasts this thing on, and that's what he blasts. And the lyrics are, in days long ago, in not too distant times, men fought for freedom. They paid the price with their lives. They fought the rulers of their country. They won the battle, the right to be free. The king is gone. The rule shall be written by our hand to proclaim for all to see across this land. I like this little story. I didn't really get a chance to review it as much as copy and paste it. So, marching into battle time and time again, fighting for this nation with brothers and friends, taking proudly with them the symbol of the times, flying high above them the stars and stripes. And wait, it gets worse. And I think this is like a lull in the song or whatever, like the bridge. But like, our flag, our pride, our joy, our life, the symbol of freedom, of love, preserve it, protect it, abolish ill intent, proudly display it high above. Very patriotic in like a metal sort of way. Okay. So we get the image of, well, again, like Huck, brothers in arms, fighting for freedom, etc., etc. Okay, so far so good. Lie in peace, my son, will drape you with the flag that once flew high above you, and now a tattered rag. The river that flows nearby will breeze the heat away. The sun beats to warm the ground. Such a lonely day. And then at the end of the song, it goes, love it. It becomes a very somber song, like as somber as metal can be. Such a lonely day.
I had written in my notes, I thought it was interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I just thought it was interesting that they took the first verse of that song, but the last verse of the next song to use in the episode. I don't know what the meaning is, but I just took note that they used the first verse of Battleground, and in the flashback, within a flashback, they play the last verse of Light the Night by Child. I feel like there's something there that I'm missing, but I don't know what it is.
Well, the first song kind of illustrates, fighting against tyranny, fighting brother with brother, moving on, and display the flag, pride, etc. But the flag doesn't only represent pride, but it also represent loss. So it becomes like not only a symbol of freedom, of rejoicing and liberty, but it also represents mourning. Lie in peace, son, will drape you with the flag once flew high above you, now a tattered rag. So meaning
that makes complete sense.
Right.
Silas, his dad's life is ending, but his freedom is just beginning.
Maybe, yeah. And maybe that's the way he's looking at his dad. Like, okay, maybe he was a pretty good guy back when. It sounded like he was, like, even just after the night the sky fell. Yeah, at some point, But you have to lay his memory to rest. What was once something that could have represented something bigger now represents something that is lost to you. The sun beats to warm the ground. Such a lonely day. Like the truth, the sun representing the truth. The truth is supposed to be healthy on this lonely day. Take solace in that. Like with as much as you're going through at the moment. Because this is his dad is dead. So maybe take solace in the fact that he's dead. Like there is a positive here.
Yeah.
Flashing back to his dad and his happy memory. This is the happy memory song. Okay. Even though he mentions AC/DC in 88. let's move on. Okay, so like you said, this is child, CHYLD, light the night, LITE, the NITE. So
Yeah.
even though the captions are wrong, this day you're happy, the next day you want to fly, the next you want to fly. So now you're looking for someone to share the ride. This night dad and son. Okay, just kidding. Anyway, maybe this night you're ruling, you're hot, you're on your own, leave all your hates behind, forget the life you've blown. Well, that's interesting because that's his happiest memory. And yet it seems like now that you're in the present, that's what this represents. This night you're ruling, this night you're hot. Oh, you're in better times. You're on your own. Leave your hates behind. Forget the life you've blown, the life that you've blown. How interesting. That's very prophetic. Okay. All right, and of course, the chorus. Oh, the genius chorus. We want to feel it. Feel it now. Oh, there's no way to say that any other way. And the next part is that you've got to feel it. There's just no way to hide that extra special light that opens your eyes. So you have to see the truth, the thing that opens your eyes. And again, prophetic, because you're using this song to medicate, to go back to a time where you're in this bubble of your happiest memory of your dad, the very thing that ruined your life, technically. And the song is telling Silas, you can't hide anymore. You have to see the truth. Okay, so open up now and turn that power on. Let the music take control and let you do your stuff. So don't let music be the thing that makes you hide, Silas. Make it empowering. Let it be the thing that helps you accomplish things, right? And then, of course, the chorus again. We want to feel it. Feel it now. Oh, light the night. Light the night. Okay, so light the night. Be the light that light shines in the darkness. Don't succumb to it. Don't let the night swallow you. Okay, so you can take me and turn my heart around. You can take me, but you're losing all your ground. Oh, that's interesting. You can make the difference in my life. You could be the one that woos me, let's say, right? But you can also take me and you're losing all your ground. So like the ground to walk on, stability. So, okay, so maybe that is a hint to Iris, let's say. You can take me and turn my heart around, but you can also take me, but you're losing all your ground. So maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you still need to go through this. If you take me, it's just too early. The ground isn't stable. Yeah, and so Nisa's saying the world turned upside down. His world turned upside down. So it just doesn't make sense for him to do so. So maybe he's starting to listen to the song. This is the turnaround. This is one of the second few verses. So, okay, there's no other way to say this. You need, I see electric in your eyes. You take, I make all your living lies. So
that's what we hear in the episode too. Those are the lyrics on the show.
Wow. From the past, right? Yeah, the past scene.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course the chorus. We want to feel it now. Oh, light the night, and then the rest of the song is light the night. So I think that last lyric before the chorus is you need, I see electric in your eyes. So like you need, like I think it's the loving father. You need the electric in your eyes. You take, I make all your living lies. So, but in response, the father says,
"Oh man,
you take, I make, all your living lies. I'm the thing that's producing all these lies. You may be dazzled by the electricity, the thing that I'm giving you in this moment, but it's all a lie. It all crumbles. You have no ground. It all crumbles around you." And and he's saying, like the night the sky fell. Yeah, the world turned upside down. It was a watershed moment. Yeah, and light the night, right? The night, like a meteor, like the sky falling, like all that stuff. Like all this is an allegory for like the night the sky fell. Also, yeah, that's going to be in my head for a little while. I don't know if I fully process it. Like it just overall, it sounds like, be the light in the darkness. Don't live a lie. Don't go for Iris when you know there's a little bit more work to do. Don't let your father's pain and lies go unacknowledged. Stop living in a bubble of your most idealized version of him, which is what he's been doing this entire time.
Well, and I think by the end of the episode, we see Silas step out of that bubble.
Yeah. I like that a lot. That evokes feelings of like Super Silas 3. Like that we were talking about. Like he doesn't need this anymore. He steps out of the bubble. He realizes the truth. Just as Elton is also embracing the bead that hope eventually gives him, because as we're about to tell you, and we mentioned this in the episode, obviously, how Huck's own words inspires hope by the end of it, mixed with Iris's evaluation and Elton's evaluation about living in a lie. I won't let Silas live a lie that nobody else will believe believe in him. Iris says, Silas protecting me and not telling me that he did is me living in a lie. Like, why aren't you telling me that you killed them for me? Yep. That makes things worse. And look, there's the pressures to tell Elton has been going throughout the last few episodes. You see little indicators of Elton obviously saying, maybe she is alive. Oh, she's definitely alive. And this episode, like right before she tells him, is like, I'm going to find my mom and my sister. That's what's going to happen. Just like I'm about to find something. Nope. Shush, Elton, shush. That's it. I've had it between you and Iris and Huck. Because she told me that I have to live through painful moments in order to do the greater good, right? But her very own advice ends up being her undoing, and she has to tell Elton. My point of this all being is that as you see Silas move through the universe without his friends, he discards the Walkman. And Elton, too, is embracing his newfound light in the night. Let's just say. Hope gives him the bead, Jupiter or Mars, whatever it is. Well, why not look at it as both things, right? Because if it is Jupiter, and it might actually be Jupiter, because now I'm convinced that the bracelet that Amelia was wearing is just the planets, around her wrist. Because I saw one of the beads was blue. They're not of varying sizes. They're all about the same size, but they all kind of look like planets. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
That is very cool.
But let's say it is Jupiter. Jupiter would, in fact, mean Zeus, would mean the god of gods, let's say, So that would be kind of like him embracing the truth.
Okay. Yeah.
Sharon goes, I'm so embarrassed for you, Elton. And Nisa says, everyone's life changed that night except Huck. She's still on a mission. Ooh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, Nisa says the father of gods. Yes, Zeus is, well, technically, yes. I mean, even though some of the gods are brothers and sisters. But yes, the father of gods. Yes, it's a weird incestual thing. Yeah, and yes, yeah, and that's what I mentioned in the episode. Mars would be war, right? Aries. So, which is why I flip back and forth between the two, because I regard it more as war from what we know about the sisters eventually being against each other or something. The one thing that I noticed about Elton is that it doesn't weaken him. It actually gets him to get up when he actually wears the bead and he puts it on. He says, this is the truth. And it's going to propel me forward. This gives me reasons to live, Now I know the whole bit of my mom, and I have one more extra thing to regard her by too. Meaning I have I have an additional piece that I didn't have today, that I didn't have yesterday.
This is what I've been saying the whole time too about, and I'm so glad Iris and Elton say it twice in this episode about living in a lie. That's what I've been saying this whole time, man. Like, I need the truth. I need that closure. And Elton, I mean, he shows us what is possible when you have the truth in the whole story. I mean, like you said, he uses it. It empowers him. He knows which way is up now.
Right. But you know what makes Elton better than both of us is that he doesn't need the truth. No, it's true though. Like, he doesn't need the truth to determine how he feels about something and someone. Even though Silas could be a killer, he still believes in him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even Silas could tell Elton, yeah, I did it. And Elton would be like, well, but
you're my brother. So, yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think Elton even recognizes that Silas is capable of this. I mean, he's absolutely capable of killing someone. But Elton points out, I've never seen you actually do this without just cause. It's either in defense of yourself or someone else. So if you did this, but Elton's basically telling him, if you did this, I know you did it for a good reason. And I'm okay with that.
Or a just reason.
A just reason. Yeah.
Well, even Hope kind of admits it too. And I like the gradient of reactions to this. Let's talk about when he's about to get bit or eaten or scratched by this walker that represents his mom saying, stay back. Hope, as he's resigning himself to the stars, let's say, the sky is a graveyard, it gets quiet. It gets quiet for a long time, which is the opposite of what he's used to. This noise, this music playing back and forth, playing side to side, tape by tape, flip by flip on his Walkman. Of this idealized version of his dad. It's very quiet. And the quiet in this instance is acknowledging the sky full of stars that is his idealized past, but it's also acknowledging the silence acknowledges that there's truth. You can't run away from it anymore. You have to acknowledge that this is it. This is your moment. This is what's happening. And that's okay. You're alive now. You always were alive. You just had to acknowledge that you have to be a part of the world, even though your world is ending. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's how he makes his peace. And then Hope ends the walker and she goes, what the hell, man?
Right. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
What the hell?
But like by the end of it, she says like, maybe you did do it. I don't know if you meant to. That's another reaction to it. I don't know if you meant to.
I think you did it.
Right. But I think you did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not even definitive.
Yes. Enough people have died already. Yep. Yes, Nisa.
Well, this is in response to Silas asking just after, why did you save me? And Nisa says, enough people have died already. Let's see what Sharon says. Like when Charlie asked Morgan why he saved her, and he said, it has to end somewhere. The same feeling.
Yep.
Yeah. It has to end. And like Rick and everybody else, like, look, the cycle of violence has to end somewhere. All that war, the end of all that war. Mm-hmm. It has to stop somewhere.
Well, I like that the conversation between Huck and Felix wasn't about whether or not to let Silas live or kill him. It was about whether or not he stays with the group or they just exile him.
Right.
Killing him was never even an option. So I like that. I mean, we've seen other situations where they're like, oh, well, you got to pay for this.
Right. Like Negan in a way. Or yeah, maybe like Earl Sutton and Henry and like being locked up for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so Sharon also mentions a good Huck Finn reference, like the family feud in Huckleberry Finn that ended with both families being wiped out because they didn't know when to end it somewhere, right? So they thought way ahead, and it's like it's not about killing Silas; it's about, well, where do we draw the line? And maybe the line is you cannot join us. Which again, which actually makes me think of like how effective that plan is, because if they left Silas out there, Huck says, "Do you think he'll follow?" And Felix goes, "No, he wanted a fresh start, and now he's actually going to get one this time with no people." But again, I have to bring that up only in the sense, like mostly in the sense of like Huck needs to make sure that he's not going to follow. She needs to make sure that her divide and conquer strategy worked, because again, killing Tony and killing Percy. Percy's dead. I'm convinced. There's just no way there's not. Additionally, because the fact that Hope and Huck put a grave marker for Percy. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just no way.
There's no body.
Yeah, but Huck knows there's a body. They just can't get a hold of it.
I don't
right
think
now.
there is. I just don't think there is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you
just
say this.
Just a feeling.
Hold on a second.
Just a feeling.
Throughout this week, you've been going, you even made an artwork about Silas cutting Percy's head off.
I did.
And now you're like convinced that he's not dead. Or
no, I don't think he is. My picture was what I want to happen,
right.
But I don't think that's what actually happened.
And you know what? Lisa's with you, Rach.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's out there somewhere. I think he's out there, and if Huck had anything to do with killing Tony, I think Percy might pop back up and let the group know that. And
be the very thing that brings it about. Because like that actually makes me want to bring up the sneak peeks, because in one of them,
I was just thinking the same thing.
Why don't you go ahead?
You're probably going to mention the same thing. There is a very quick flash of Felix holding his gun on Huck, and then she disarms him.
Yeah, and there's another scene down the line of Felix almost getting it with an S-pole too.
We see Huck sweep someone's legs out. I'm going to assume it's Felix, but I can't confirm that. She sweeps out the legs, and then we see Felix on the ground, and he does one of these.
Right, a roll or some kind.
Like trying to avoid something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's sort of injured in the next episode from like a walker encounter, let's say.
Something happened.
Or an empty encounter.
Maybe it's Percy. Maybe Percy attacks him.
Oh. Wouldn't that be easy? So Felix would be the one to kill Percy, technically.
Well, think about it.
Doing Huck's dirty work.
Let's play with this for a minute. I mean, imagine that Percy sees Huck killing Tony. Huck comes after Percy. Percy hightails it out of there. The next time Percy sees Felix, wouldn't you, if you were Percy, wouldn't you assume that Felix was of the same mind as Huck? I mean, if Felix sees Percy, he's going to attack him as well.
Yeah, this is one of the scenarios that I thought of. Like, okay, what is the scenario here? Okay, maybe Percy thinks they're all in league and there's no way that she can trust all of them, so that's why he bolts.
Yeah.
And so seeing Felix would confirm the idea that we had, which was, I can't trust any of these people. Like, you got this wild card Silas, and Huck is trying to kill me now. We have additional information. Obviously, Felix is going to want to kill me too, right? Mm-hmm. And then, and Charity says, if somebody's hand gets cut off, I swear, referencing Fear the Walking Dead and Ginny. And then Nisa goes, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God.
Those sneak peeks went by so fast.
But there were so
many of them.
But there's so much information. in just those sneak peeks, like the focus on Iris of the asset, of course, probably not, because it's probably Hope, because
I think that's misleading.
yeah, exactly.
Huck says, oh, there's a lot more going on than you know.
Right. And then you see the flash of Leo and Lila making out, which is what I'm saying it is.
Mm-hmm. I wrote Leo Bennett kissing a woman. It could be Lila. There's a very good chance it's Lila. It's most likely.
It's probably Lila.
But
unless it's just like a player. Unless it's just like a player. He's just getting left and right. He's getting ass.
Right? Oh, man. Why not? Why not? Right?
Hope is Huck's daughter with Leo.
With Leo? I'm still feeling, well, no, why would Leo have to adopt his own daughter?
You asked the stupidest question. Why wouldn't he?
He wouldn't have to adopt his own daughter, is what I'm saying.
Unless Kublek is in on it.
He wouldn't have to go through, right. He wouldn't have to go through the channels of adopting his own biological daughter if that were the case. That's my point.
I see that happen all the time, though. Like parents that have previously abandoned their daughters have to actually readopt them, or sons, whatever. It happens.
If they've legally given up rights, then yes. But
yeah, she was too young. They're all saying it in the chat.
What?
It's like she was too.
So Leo would have to sign off his rights to this child and then readopt her. Come on, guys. This is getting real messy.
Well, the show's starting getting messy. So why don't we get messy? I'm just kidding. I agree with you.
No, I think
the thing is,
I think it's more likely Huck and Hope are sisters.
Everybody's confused. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody has theories.
It's a clusterfuck.
Oh my god! This is what I'm saying, though. This is why I didn't want to cover this episode like that. I had that hesitation in my gut, like saying, "Oh my god, are we really going to go through all of this?" Because the crazy is happening.
Yes, it is.
It's not like I disagree with any of you. All of you make sense, which is why this is very annoying.
It could all be right.
Right. It could all be right. They'll make it all right.
I'm more convinced that Hope and Huck could be sisters than a mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, I like your theory way better. It's just so much cleaner. Can we just say that?
Right.
It's so much less complicated than
so much cleaner
relinquishing. Then having, let's say, an abortion, getting the father's disappointment, joining the Marines, thinking that will make him proud of her again. Again, we're trying to clean up the messier theory, which might be right. And then coming back from the Marines, obviously the world turning to shit, which, by the way, leads me to remember the question that we asked, what happened to the people she saved in the tunnels, the civilians, whom she had to kill her brothers in arms for? Kublek, citizens of the Republic.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Citizens of the Civic Republic. She already had an in. She was already part of the civil defense, Kublek's mom, let's say, whom I have to assume split up from her dad at some point, and they're divorced.
Or he's dead. I mean, is it possible that Huck's dad could be dead?
Between the time she joined the Marines?
And I just mean right now in time.
Oh, now. Like, is it the present?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I have to
While
assume.
her and Kublek are in the trailer, I kind of got the impression he was gone. He was dead-zo. Oh, Nisa thinks he died pre-apocalypse.
Wait, Huck is Leo's biological daughter? Stop it.
She's just trying to make a bigger mess.
That don't make no thing. That don't make no thing. Maybe you think Hope? Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's even worse in some ways.
I agree, Nisa. I agree with Nisa that she says the way Elizabeth touches the watch, it looks as if she's sort of remembering someone.
Yeah, I agree. I
think he might be deceased.
But they have to be split up, right? Because of the different names, or unless they decide to take different names, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
This is breaking my brain, guys. My headache is definitely back.
Malek could be her dad's name, and maybe Kublek went back to her maiden name when she joined the military.
Right. Or the civil defense, maybe? By the way, it doesn't sound like the civil defense isn't like a huge military operation. Oh, God.
I think Sharon just nailed it.
Yeah, Nisa says, Hope's mom is Madison. We've brought it back. Hope's mom is Madison.
Yep, we solved the mystery.
I knew Madison's family was a messy relationship. And of course, now Nisa's dying. We brought it back. I can't believe we brought it back. I'm trying to keep that dead, just like Madison.
Yes.
Madison is dead, Reddit. Madison is dead. Madison is dead. As much as I don't want her to be, I cannot keep going through these jokes. These jokes are...
I love it.
Like beating a dead horse. I am known for that. I am very well aware of how I beat a dead horse when I tell a joke. But I can't put that on you guys. I can't do it.
With Leo. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Nisa said Madison, she lost a baby once. Maybe the baby didn't die. She gave it up. Fuck this shit. Fuck this. No, Madison's dead. Her baby's dead. Everybody's dead. God damn it. Everybody's dead. I'm going to have a freak out on air. Madison's dead. Because here's the thing. This is because I'm echoing some previous lines that have been said on the show. She has to be, because otherwise, like, Leo has to be okay, because otherwise I have to blame myself.
Yeah.
Madison has to be dead, or else it gets things complicated.
Yeah. No.
And where's Will? We've never seen Will. We've never seen Will. I want to see a picture of this Will. He must be hot to have that sweet ass, to have that sweet Felix. I'm Felix. I'm a manly man.
I know. I'm a little worried that we haven't seen Will yet, right? Like, what if Will died?
I mean, if he died, then he died off screen, and then that's just way less complicated, isn't it? Oh, shut up! No, Charity. Hope's mom is Madison. Will is actually Heath, which, okay, no, I don't think that's the case, but here's the thing. Where does Heath show up, right? Because all of this is making us forget about Heath. And so...
Oh, I haven't forgotten about Heath.
That's a Sharondy right there. You just Sharondy'd all over this.
Right? Sorry. My brain's working overtime now thinking about where is Heath.
Just like Otis is a verb now. God, you just Sharondy'd it.
Yeah.
Just Sharondy'd all over this podcast. We don't know what to do now. We have to get the Sharondy off of us. Because it's a good point. It's a good point. Will is Heath. Well, what if Will was the spy the whole time too, like his escort? Leo's escort.
Ooh, yeah, but he's in the CR, isn't he? Will and Leo are inside the CR.
Yeah, exactly. But what if he was what if Will came aboard the Civic Republic a long time ago as a sleeper? Yeah, like just to investigate, have a spy in the camp. But again, we're spinning our wheels here, but what if? And then like the entire time we're worried, quote unquote, about Will, or Felix is worried about Will, yet Will had been with them the entire time, just like Huck. Just like, what the Huck already, Charity's like, sorry, I ruined your Squawking Dead podcast in a Forrest Gump voice. I said that like Felix though, by default. Sorry, I ruined your Squawking Dead podcast. Anyway. Oh yeah, that hurts too. But Nisa's saying Huck is a spy. She befriended Felix from the beginning. So did Will. What if they're both in on it?
Yeah, poor Felix. I would feel the worst for Felix.
Yeah, I mean, can I tell you something though? I feel bad for Huck too, in a way. So one of the things I said was Huck, like Morgan, cannot break away from the plan long enough to adapt. It's all about getting the girls to their father, but at what cost? And then I wrote, all the costs! But that's the thing that really breaks my heart. Huck is literally an example of taking her theory about keeping the past a secret to its conclusion, something that we mentioned about hope and hoping that doesn't happen. Part of keeping the secret is reflexive. So you keep the person you're keeping the secret away from safe, but then you pay the price. The PTSD, the guilt, them operating on separate principles hurts you, but also hurts them. You're hurting both people, right? So Huck is literally the example of, let's say, what happened if Hope kept the secret the entire time into adulthood, blah, blah, blah. The theory of keeping the past a secret to its ultimate conclusion. She becomes a slave to the Civic Republic military as a result, because part of her secret involves betraying her brothers. So now she's attaching herself to another brotherhood, all while keeping this a secret. Yeah. And this makes perfect sense of why. Those are the big questions that we had in the last episode was, what is keeping her from telling everybody the secret, or to explain where she came from, why she holds on to the name Huck, as opposed to her actual name? Or maybe she's keeping that part of herself buried, but then why not tell that part of her past as kind of like a lesson, like not keeping a secret? Well, because she attached herself to this replacement version of her brothers in arms. Oh, I can do it again and do it right this time and not fall into the same. But this is why I feel bad about Huck, is that I don't care what we see in the sneak peeks. I don't care. Huck is still part of this goddamn story. And there's no way that in the final moments, she's not going to do the same thing she did back then. That is part of who she is. That is the hero that I want to see in her. Oh my God, why am I getting emotional? That is the hero that I see in her waiting to burst out again. That is who you are. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I mean, like you said, I mean, the sneak peeks for next week make Huck out to look like a really bad guy, but I just don't see it. She has been telling us all along, you got to do bad things for good reasons. And she truly believes that. Just like her mom. And she truly believes it. And I think we see it too. We see it over and over again, saving Hope from Walter. She does. She always does the right thing, even if it's something bad.
Yeah.
But I don't see her as an enemy, and I don't think she's gonna be an enemy.
And it sucks because like you want to criticize her. You do, because there are things that she does, like killing, again, I'm going to say Tony and Percy just for the sake of brevity, but Tony, definitely Tony, for sure. Right.
Yeah.
And yet she's doing all of this, operating on this trauma, like this, but like being a part of this brotherhood, which makes her think that the past is dead and the past is overwritten by this, probably this good, making the past count for something good. And this is her way of doing that, but it's not enough.
Yeah. You know what I just realized? It was just after Tony and Percy shared with the rest of the group that they were planning on sticking around that he finally was killed.
Right. Exactly. And this was not according to Huck's plan. She's like, okay, we'll drop you off and send you on your way. That works. We're good with that. That makes the already hard road ahead of us easier. This is why
Once they decide to stick around, she's like, sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, guys. And so embarrassing to Tony and Percy. Oh my God, that's so funny. And then even me joking about saying that is, I think back to Huck with the shutter shade glasses. Like it's like that like that sort of look. And it makes me sad.
I think she's caring about these people. I don't know if she was supposed to, or if this was just supposed to be a mission, but I think she truly, genuinely cares about the people in this group. And the fact that she is aligned with Elizabeth kind of makes me feel like maybe Elizabeth isn't as bad as we thought either. I mean, she was clearly upset about what she had to do at Campus Colony. Maybe Huck and Elizabeth are taking down CRM from the inside.
That's a tall order.
I think Nisa said that earlier, actually. Not here, like a couple
episodes
maybe
ago.
It was here. Yeah. Yes. Sharondy's been saying that. Yes.
But part of the strategy, though, is to divide and conquer, is to separate the rest of her friends from the asset. So that's going to be the teller. This is going to be the tell, like how far she's willing to go. I don't know. I don't want to believe that. I think it'll get to.
She's bad. I don't either.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it's not about bad or good at some point. It's about turning it around, right? Like finding out when is it enough? Like Hope gets it again. Like I'll say it again. Hope gets it right away. I think you did do it. I don't know that you meant to, but you did do it. I think you did. And so taking all these lessons and finding conclusions and finding a semblance of right and wrong. And I think she's going to, another flashback scene is Hope holding a gun to who knows who too. And who that person is.
Hope with a gun.
Could be Huck, let's say. Could be Huck. One would think Iris because of the...
Could be Percy.
Interesting. Oh, gosh.
Could be Silas for all we know.
Yeah,
I mean...
Nisa's saying Elizabeth didn't want to kill all those people. We saw that. Yeah, I guess maybe with the tears, we saw that. She didn't say that. She said they were a threat. They were about to. Barca, get the fuck into therapy. And then she needs therapy. So, yeah, I think that's, no matter how cruel, that's why I always think about how hard it must be to be like an elected official. Like how you have to make your peace with so many awful, awful decisions. Yeah. Because Nisa says, yeah, she can't agree with Barca. Yeah. And her I think people will still commit to their principles though. They'll hop away like nothing's wrong, even though something's wrong.
Yeah.
Some things you can't walk away with.
We saw remorse in that scene for sure. She didn't need to say it. We saw it.
There is also the possibility of, in the next episode, leaving Felix behind. Hope is suggesting they leave Felix behind because he could barely walk. And Iris is challenging Hope on that, like protesting. So we're just going to leave him behind?
Yeah.
That's really all that's left. Like the only one other takeaway is like, okay, Kubelik says isolating her from the others is critical, and it focuses on Iris in that one scene just afterwards. So, but that's really it. Silas is telling Elton that he shouldn't have come. There's that. And then later on, Elton looks on as Silas gives himself up for him to CR, I guess, apparently. There's not much, but there's a lot. In just that little bit that apparently is probably going to go nowhere because Huck is going to save the day. I'm convinced of it.
So there was just one part in the sneak peeks. I wanted to see if you saw what I did. The clip of the helicopter landing in the field.
With Kubelik coming out?
Yes, but right before that, just the helicopter like landing into the field, the very last split second on the left-hand side of the screen, we see someone's hair, like someone's walking into the field as the helicopter. You didn't see this? I rewound it and I rewatched it like 37 times. It looks like Hope's hair.
Or Huck, could it be?
To me, it looked like Hope's
black,
hair.
Distinctly black?
Yes.
Short enough?
Like no highlight. Yep. The length was right. There were no highlights. It was like solid color.
Meaning Hope is the asset,
did Sharon or Nisa see this? Right. I'm wondering what's happening. Like, is Huck taking Hope to the helicopter or like what? Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't imagine this or somehow mesh the scenes together. Mm-hmm. But it looked like Hope was walking towards this helicopter as it was landing.
You know, there's a picture on your face right now. There will be. There's a picture on your face right now with the screenshot you're talking about. And then we're going to have to talk about it in the chat as we premiere it. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the audio podcast won't see the chat, but if you do have something to say about it, rate thisPodcast.com/squawking-dead.
Please.
It's your way of communicating with us. 5 stars in an eggplant or telling us what you think. Probably.
I want to know if I'm crazy.
Yeah. I think it's like only Apple Podcasts and Podchaser, I think, that have rating systems and comments. So, but yeah, let us know. I'm going to go through some of my Huck comments. So in the process of taking out Tony and Percy, I did put a question mark just to satisfy you a little bit, but I have to play that other side of like, okay, but what if, and then, okay. So, and in effect took out Silas and Elton. So a lot of the work is done. I think the only two that are left now is Iris and, or Hope, depending on who it really is, Iris and Hope, and definitely Felix. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, was she the soldier that Hope or Iris, I don't remember who it was, that said that they referenced in the initial episode? Remember the initial episode? They gave us a soldier.
Oh yeah.
And we gave them our dad. So yep. I don't know if that's it. Maybe they know something. I don't know. Something, I don't know. I just don't know.
You're right.
So that was the one thing I wanted to chew on.
I asked who was the soldier.
I was like, oh yeah, we know who it is. Duh. Like, no, we don't. We don't know anything.
No.
Okay, so who's...
and after this episode, I know even less.
Right.
So,
and then who's the asset? Okay, we don't know. We don't know really.
I'm feeling strongly that it's Hope, but
because it's obviously Iris, but it's not. Right? That's what we're thinking.
I feel like they're pushing Iris too hard, and so it makes me look at Hope. Yeah. Not to mention Huck and Hope are spending a lot of time together. So
yeah, and Sharon D. saying we thought it was Barca because obviously, right? But probably, probably Huck. I don't know. I don't even think girls know. Let's think. I have no idea. Nobody knows what's going on. They just throw these lines out, and then we just like, wait, who are you talking about? Anyway, again, the reason why I think the civilians that Huck saved became part of the Civic Republic was based on that fucking orange. It was because, like, okay, they were ready from the beginning, sort of. That's crazy. So anyway, and then the last note I wrote was Kublai Malik. Like, what? I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. Or, I mean, we're assuming that Elizabeth and Huck's dad were even married. I mean, having a child together does not necessarily mean you got married.
Well, as we've seen with, no, I think Leo and Carrie were married.
They were both Bennetts.
But we're all talking. We're just talking about different family structures too. Like Elton regards everybody in his group as family. So, boo. I want to describe one more thing, and that's something we didn't say when we were talking about Silas putting down his headphones. Let me take a step back. And take a step forward. Did you notice that instead of Silas hunched over, being all timid and Silas-y, that he's standing tall as he's walking away? And in the sneak peeks, he's tall. You can actually see his neck. It's fantastic. He is unburdened.
Yep. I wanted to bring it up earlier when we were talking about Silas putting his Walkman down, but the expression on his face just looks so peaceful as he's walking away too. Like,
or like clarity.
Yes. Relief,
but
almost.
This is especially as he has the headphones discarded. Because even when he takes down the walker, there's like a in process to it. Like he's moving forward. He's taking every step. Every step is a bigger relief. Like now it's off my chest. I know what I am, but I know I can get a fresh start. And this is the thing that really kills me the most is that like him actually admitting who he is, it just further confirms that he didn't do it. You know, I know what I am. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I've done, you know? And even if this is the case, even if I killed Tony and Percy, well, I must have had a good reason or something like that, or whatever it is. You know, at least somebody believed in me, and Iris wanted to believe in me. Maybe that's enough. This person wanted to believe in me. Maybe that's enough, and maybe I should just let go. You know, enough people in my life believed in me. Maybe I can let go. Yeah,
maybe he can start believing in himself. I love what Nisa pointed out too. Nisa says he takes out that walker like it's nothing. This is the first time we've seen Silas do that with confidence. He didn't hesitate. He didn't get into his head about it. He did what needed to be done.
I didn't write that down, but it's definitely worth noting.
Yeah. I know, I didn't either. He picks up the 2x4 and Eric goes, oh, he's going hacksaw Jim Duggan on his ass.
What was the thing he used to do?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved hacksaw.
He'd come out with a 2x4. Yeah, he'd come out with a 2x4.
And look, and this is not going to be for the audio
funny
crowd.
If that was Silas's new weapon,
Right? But he would always make that look like he'd stick his thumb up in the air, like. Sorry, podcast audience. I can't describe hacksaw Jim Duggan's face and the thumbs up. You're just gonna have to look that one up.
If you don't know, you got to find out.
But I would so want to see Silas do that, or Hal Cumpson.
Yeah. I also, yes, right. That would be really funny.
Excellent.
I hope. Well, I don't know. I guess it would just kind of be funny but pointless if Elton picks up the Walkman and tries to return it to Silas.
I mean, but what would happen? Silas would be like, no. If you want it, you can have it.
Yeah, I've elevated. I'm good.
See, Elton can't catch a break. First, the jacket for Hope. It's like, oh, Hope, you look cold. Here's my jacket. He's like, no, I'm good. Silas, here's your Walkman. No, I'm good. Why won't anybody take anything from me? Aw, right. Oh, shucks. Aw. Oh, geez. Anyway, yeah. The poor Elton, right? He just gets rejected left and right, but he refuses to back down, though. That's the thing I love about him. This character, let's say. He's not real. He's not real. Just have to remember that. And no, Nisa, he's not real. He's not real. Silas, Elton, no, none of them are real. It's not real.
They are real.
They're not.
It's still real to me, damn it.
You know better than that. You know better than to say that. You're goddamn it. You're like a therapist. You're a psychologist, man. I'm gonna pop you. I'm gonna make you see the light. I'm gonna light your night. No. We have to live in the truth. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pretend like I'm shaking you. Nisa, you gotta live in the truth. Nisa, you gotta live in the present. We're all mad down here. We're all mad. The only thing that I will end off with is the beautiful analogy that Iris attempts to bring up, and then Elton kind of crushes it, but in the best possible way, as they're looking up in the sky. And I love that we haven't really seen an Elton-Iris interaction, and actually maybe for good reason, because they might actually be more hopeful avatars than we take them for. And that's Iris goes on about something Hope and she had said when they were kids, is that, the stars that you see in the sky have died out millions of years ago. And Elton just kind of turns around and says, well, actually, excuse me, actually, they're not that far away than you think. The stars that you can actually see with the naked eye are ones that actually aren't that far away. So they might be more alive than you think they are. And we're seeing Iris in a particularly vulnerable moment where maybe the sky is a graveyard. Maybe there is nothing to people, nothing redeeming. Maybe it's just not worth trying to see the light in the darkness, lighting the night. And Elton's like, no one's gone till they're gone. That was what I took out of that.
Yeah.
Assuming that they're gone. Yeah. If you assume that they're gone, they're already gone to you. But they're not as gone as you think they are. It takes a little believing to bring them back.
That was pretty much what I took from it too. Iris was trying to make sense of the Silas situation.
Right. Like trying to maybe fit her circle peg into a square box of hope, let's say, of Hope's box, let's say. And that is, some people want to do that to please other people. Hope outright says, we have to think of the greater good. She says this to Elton at some point. You have to think, she crosses her arms too. We have to think of the greater good. And Elton's like, that is the greater good. We need to be family. We need to be together. And then Iris, she's talking to Iris, we need to get to our dad. And Iris is like trying to put that in, that fit that square peg into a circle hole, and it just cannot do it. I think when she's talking to Elton, like, maybe that is true. Maybe this sky is just a beautiful graveyard, and it's just Elton won't Elton with everything just won't let things die. He cannot, because it's all he has. Like, I like that he's a character in this universe because he's a great reminder and a living reminder of family's what you make of it. And I'm not willing to throw out the very little that I have for the sake of something grander or bigger. He is the present. He is the here and now. He is what is good in the here and now. So he's going to be there to remind everybody of the good moving forward, and again, this is kind of like the Michonne problem. Like, if you destroyed a whole bunch of people to get to Rick, then what was it for? Rick wouldn't have wanted that for you. Neither does Leo Bennett. If you had to do all this bad to get to me, what was it for? What can I be proud of? And so I'll leave you guys with that. How about that? What good is it for? Huck, what good is it for the greater good if you had to do a whole bunch of bad to get there? And that is one of the lines she says in the preview. She hammers it even harder than in this episode. Yeah, and then Nisa says it's all about the future. Yeah, it's about the future. Again, so we're regressing to even Campus Colony. Like Campus Colony was all about the future. And these kids are too far in the present to go back. Okay, so Sharon says, I can't remember the correct quote, but it's something like...
What does it do to a man to do good if it costs him his soul?
Or something like that.
Well, saying, if you do the things you do for good, but it's costing you your soul, is it really that good?
Right. Where's the gradient? Where's the limit? Like, how far do you go?
Is what you're doing all that good if it's costing you your soul in the process?
Yeah, and Nisa follows up with yes, because it's not for you. You're doing it for the future.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, Nisa's saying it is worth it.
So that's where we're going to leave you, folks. If you've liked what you've heard and you're listening on various podcast platforms, why don't you tell us what we're doing right or wrong on ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. Leave us 5 stars in the eggplant or write us more. Let us know how we're doing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. It's a good way to communicate with us. Have a conversation with us through those ratings. And if you really like us, you want to follow our journey, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us there. When you do, you'll know when we drop our sessions and our unedited recordings, and you can decide whether or not to buy us a coffee. When you buy us a coffee, you get 30 days of access to our supporter back posts. Why are you laughing?
They're killing me. They're killing me in the chat, and I can't keep it together.
You're not doing it short. Okay, well, here we go. What's happening, folks?
Bow, chicka, bow, wow.
For non-coffee backers, and if you subscribe to a coffee month, the party keeps rolling. So join us. Actually, join us in the chat as we record these episodes. Get the unedited episodes, of which, because you missed it, there's something just happened right now that we cut out to that you will have access to now. So just saying, you didn't see it, but it was there.
It's worth the $3.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it isn't there.
Oh, it's there.
Oh my God. Holy shit buys 9 coffees. Charity says. You don't know what happened. You don't know what happened.
Gotta buy a coffee and find out.
That's for the people who back us. Anyways, so yes, thank you for joining us. Have a great, I hope this made some sense out of this episode, but we'll see you in the next one. Fear the Walking Dead, coming up next on episode 116. See you soon. Bye. Thank you. I hope you like this mic, by the way. Take care, y'all.
I like it. Now that we figured it out.
Yeah, no kidding. We had some trouble before. Another supporter backed content post. Take care, folks. Bye.
Bye.